All right.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello. It says that you're logged in with an iPad, so this will work on an iPad as well, huh?
I've done Zoom on an iPad with my family.
Hmm.
Actually, I guess I can share this now. Laura and I got married in August, and we Zoom videoed our wedding to all our family who couldn't come and be here.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, we figured after 17 years, it was probably gonna last.
It might have a good shot after that many years.
I think so. I think so.
And Mark and I just celebrated our 17th.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So yeah.
Tricia, are you on?
She's on the phone.
I am.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So do you want to almost 11 o'clock? And
We're all here.
All right.
Well, let's see if anyone from the public joins us, I think, just to make sure. I think that was the bell timer.
Okay.
That was a message I got.
Oh, okay.
Well, it is 11 o'clock. I'm going to start, and I'm going to talk about how these meetings are being recorded and consistent with the Governor Inslee's order. So I'll start with that, and then when I'm done, we'll turn it over to Joan to start the meeting. So to get started, welcome to our October 6th, 2020 Salary Commission meeting. This meeting is being held remotely. I'd like to go over a few of the logistics so that we can have a productive meeting. Consistent with Governor Inslee's order 20-28-9 dated September 2nd, 2020, all public meetings continue to be held remotely. We are following the directions of that order. Now, just to note that there should be a new order that came out today, but we haven't had a chance to update the records, but we understand that it's been extended through November. On this agenda are routine and necessary actions for our Salary Commission to consider. We will also provide the opportunity at the end of the meeting for the public comments. Joining me via Zoom is Commissioner Joan Wiseman, Commissioner Jim, bad name.
Hooker.
And Commissioner Woodruff. Our IT person, Todd, is managing the meeting versus Zoom. He's their host. Tricia Prince is our office support, and my name is RJ Stevenson. I'm the finance director. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, John. You can do roll call order.
Thanks, RJ. Going over the logistics. So I call the meeting to order at 11:01. We have an agenda that was sent out. Has everyone had a chance to review it? And do you have any questions, or do you want to approve it?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. So we have an agenda. The next item is review the prior meeting minutes, which were approved. I didn't realize that we approved them via email on April 30th. The meeting that we actually had was the public hearing where we presented our findings and our approval. So any questions on the prior meeting minutes?
Do we have to approve?
No, we approved via email.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no questions for me.
Okay. The next agenda item is I've been the chair for the last year. So do we have an appointment of a new chair in discussion?
Well, that would be Holly, wouldn't it?
I'm happy to have Joan do it again. It's just for these couple of meetings, right? I don't know that we'd have more than 2.
Yeah, I mean, in this current situation, if it's easier for me to continue, I'm willing to do that. But if Holly, if you want to do it, I'm open to that as well.
I'm happy for you to do it, Joan. Sorry.
All right, Jim,
You're doing a wonderful job, Joan. Just keep up the good work.
You sure you don't want to, Jim?
I guess I move to approve Joan to continue as our chair for 2020.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Yay.
All right, unanimous. Thank you very much for the vote of support. We will continue on. The next item is financial analysis. Because this is salary, it hits the budget. I thought that maybe we should review the budget in these tumultuous times in COVID as to how it's impacting our financials. So RJ, do you want to give us a little update? I know you sent out an email.
Yeah, and I've been trying to set on a few of these monthly reports to the commission as we've gone along. I know we've been trying to have this meeting for quite some time, and it's been something we've been pushing back because we didn't know what we were walking into. I think just a couple of items for the commission to know is that we did receive almost $500,000 in relief funding for COVID through the CARES Act. So council did recognize the first budget amendment for $330,000 back in June. We have another $165,000 approved for tonight for them to consider. And then we have to November 30th to spend it. So the nice thing, I guess you'd say from the city's perspective, is that we've had this additional resources coming in, which we've been using to try to help businesses, help community, keep our facilities operational, spending these dollars. So that was additional money we're not planning on having coming in. In that, when we looked at COVID hitting us back in March, we did a forecast that kind of a worst case scenario forecast, because everything we were hearing was looking at 15 to 20% reduction in sales tax. And so we were projecting about $500,000 loss through the summer months. This city, what we've experienced, this city has a really good makeup of sales that have boosted that. I mean, the high school is the biggest probably one of the biggest contributors why we're doing so well through this time. But we've also seen that there's been a lot of money being spent out there on online services. We have one big box scale, the Home Depot out there. Their sales are strong. Through these, we've actually did not see a reduction in revenue. We actually saw historical increases to the tune that we're sitting about 40% higher than we were projecting last year. Sorry, my computer was just threatening me that it wants to reboot. It's not going to happen. So financially, we're really sound through these few months. On the spreadsheet on the dashboard that I sent you, I have two things in the first graph. One shows the arrow saying that we have greatly exceeded expectations, which is a true statement for this year, but we're not sure what happens after the new year. If you look at the state forecasts from the economists, they're looking at still looking at significant decreases in revenue, even for the 21-23 or 21 to 23 biennium, $1.95 billion compared to what they thought they were going to be at. I've talked to the Valley; they're experiencing 15% decrease in sales tax, which is the exact opposite with us, our neighboring city. So while we think we're going to be on a good footing, definitely over probably the next 2 months, because I'm still seeing a lot of activity. I mean, talk about construction. Construction is still very strong in this city. There's still a lot of houses going up. And Western Cat did announce that they're setting up over by the hub. So we know we have a large potential construction contract coming up too that helps carry us into next year. But we don't know with the stimulus money that ran out for individuals, because they were receiving, if you're on unemployment, you're receiving the extra $600 a week from the government. That ended a month ago or a couple months ago. That impact would have finally September would have been the last impact. If we see a change in buying behavior, we'll see it next month.
Hey,
But I'm not seeing that out there.
Can you
when
go
talking to
through-
some of the restaurants.
hey, can you just kind of go through that chart that says general fund streets revenue through 9/30 actual versus budget?
Yeah.
It shows, it shows everything down slightly from budget.
Yeah, so the general fund streets expenses through 9/30.
No, the
So
revenue,
right now,
the revenue chart.
the revenue chart. So through September 30th, we show our revenue down, not fully meeting expectations for the year. Is that the question?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
So-
I'm just looking at that chart and I'm assuming we're looking at 9 months actual versus 9 months budget.
Actually, it's 12 months budget.
Well, that explains it then.
So,
So it's 9 months actual versus 12 months budget.
Correct. No one has ever pointed that out. So I'm going to make sure in future months that reflects budget's 12 months actual as year to date.
Good job, Jim.
So,
Well, you know, we
No.
had this rosy picture and I'm looking at this thing and everything's down. I'm trying to figure that out.
No.
Now I understand.
okay. So sales tax should end up actual versus budget. The way we're projecting out should be close to almost $4 million. So we should be close to $600,000 over our budget on that line.
And what about property taxes? Is that, does that reflect the delay in people paying property taxes at this point?
Mhm.
So it still should, what we experienced in April with the delay is that we still got 70% of our property tax collected in April. And we still expect that to be the same for November because
Okay,
a lot of people are set up with automatic payment through their escrow. So they're not
gotcha.
able to take the delay. So, and then the delay does go through December. If we don't collect it, we will collect it in January. So it's
Yeah.
we're not
Not
going
a
to
big
get revenue. It's permit revenue is going to exceed what our expectation is. And then utility tax should come in pretty close to that number. So utility tax is
Gotcha.
probably one revenue source that's going to be growing significantly during this time.
Okay.
So, and there's so financial picture, we're doing well. We're just from looking at it from budget going into 2021, as we're preparing the 2021 budget, the city is taking the approach of it's kind of a status quo.
Yeah.
Let's budget the same we did in 2020 with
So-
some minor modifications.
On the
Yeah.
expense budget, again, I'm probably looking at a full year budget versus 9 months actual.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay,
that is
Okay.
correct.
okay.
So it sounds like from where you are, you're surprised that we did so well compared to other cities and what was projected. But it sounds like the city is still being cautious to say, we're going to go status quo going into 2021, because people still really don't know how this is all going to land at some point. Right?
Correct.
So
That is correct.
what are you doing with employee salaries?
That was going to be my question.
So right now, the 2021 draft has just employees getting if they're able, we have a 7-step system for most employees, and they're getting their step unless they're at the top of their step. We do have to adhere to our seasonal workers who are making minimum wage. They're going to see a slight bump from that. But for staff, it is just if they get a step, they get a 2%. If they're not, they're going to be held at their top step.
So in other words, the city's not going to give any kind of merit or any kind of increase other than what's required.
Correct. We're not looking at any COLAs this year.
What about layoffs?
We've been fortunate. So The way we're structured as a city, when we went into this is when COVID started appearing, we hadn't hired back on our seasonal staff, and that's close to about $300,000 to $400,000 consideration. So we didn't bring our seasonal staff on, which was able to prevent us from having to lay off employees. One of the problems that we're looking into, just so you know, when it comes to laying off employees, we don't actually save money because we're self-insured. So there is a little bit of the financial savings from laying off. City would not realize that for quite some time.
I'm glad that there hasn't been any layoffs, and I feel bad for the seasonal, but I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of how we're positioning ourselves for 2021. We've got our year-round staff coming on. We're going to hold off seasonals until the spring months, and then we'll have a stronger idea what the financial picture is going to be.
So for 2021, you think you're going to put in a budget number for seasonal?
We're going to budget similar to what we did last year,
Good.
but we
good.
won't.
You won't pull the
bring
trigger
those
till you
staff
know.
back. Yeah, correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So as I recall, one of the things we talked about last year, when we did very extensive research on other cities and everything, and then we approved the 80% raise, was that we wouldn't try to do such extensive research. Of course, this is all before the COVID, which kind of threw a monkey wrench in everything as well, but that we would kind of follow what the city was doing as far as merit raises. Do I recall that correctly? For like for this year and maybe even 2021, and then delve deeper maybe in 2022. Am I recalling that correctly, Joan and Jim and RJ?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and
my
we talked
recollection.
about not doing the extensive, but if the financials, if you guys don't have more questions, then let's go into the market data, the next agenda item. Is that okay?
I just had one question. What was the reimbursement by Lyft? What was that about?
So LIFT is actually the abbreviation doesn't mean anything. Local Improvement Financial Tool. But we did Project Orchard Park, and since it's over in the River District, we have this financing tool that we can seek reimbursement for public infrastructure projects. So we built Orchard Park. It was almost $3.6 million. And then we went to ask reimbursement to the LIFT. And so the note on there is that the general fund got $870,000 because it helped basically cash flow the project and got reimbursed. So I wanted the note in there to make it look like, wow, your revenues are almost $2 million over. Well, if you back out the LIFT, because that's like more of a cash flow piece, our revenue is only closer to $1 million.
Okay.
Any more questions on financial analysis?
Within the financials, do you have anything for the roads ROADS streets projects, the Harvard, the school overpass, and the roundabouts there that were done? Are those expenses included in any of this?
They're capital projects, so they're they're not embedded in the dashboard page. Harvard Road, they're actually starting for construction on that at middle of October to build that one. We paid for the design of it. WashDOT's paying for the construction, and so we came in close to $1 million for design for Harvard. And so we just finished up that project this month, or finalized the design a couple months ago. And then Henry, the overpass, we're working with WashDOT. That one we're also paying for design. We're set to get reimbursed by LIFT for our cost of the project. The agreement with WashDOT is that the city financial contribution is $6 million. Now that financial contribution does take money forms. So any right of way that the city had acquired before the agreement.
Uh-oh.
Losing your audio, RJ.
Finalized, we get credit for that. We get, my interconnection is unstable.
Well, doggone it.
Yeah.
So let me, without going into all the details, the
Yeah.
question is that you have separate funds for the capital projects, and is financing adequate for the capital projects?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Except the overpass is kind of this moving target because we're working with WashDOT and their financial situation isn't as strong as we'd like. So,
Yeah.
they've pulled back the reins and we're competing with other cities for financing. So, but Harvard's a go. We'll
On
get
those
that one done.
on the capital funds, do you transfer money from the general fund to the capital fund, or is there a separate funding source?
Usually a separate funding source. Orchard
Okay.
Park was an exception because it was
Yeah.
such a large one that I actually used 2 capital funds to help finance it. And then I needed a little bit of the general fund. Well, I needed 870 of the general fund to help finance it.
Okay.
General fund does have a rich cash balance. So when we
Yeah.
do try to, we can from that one to help capital out.
Okay.
Okay,
No more financial questions.
okay. How about you, Holly?
No, I'm good, thanks.
All right. The next topic is the market data for 2020. So as you stated, we thought we wouldn't go into the full analysis where we would pick the, go out and look at all of, are they the right cities and how do we compare and do all of that. But what I did ask is say the 17 or 20 cities that we looked at last year, can you just refresh the spreadsheet with new data so that we at least have an idea that people went way above or they cut back or what happened? So it's not that we're doing the full market analysis, but we're at least
Right.
taking the standard and then just refreshing the numbers. And so thank you, Trisha and RJ, for doing that. So you can see on the spreadsheet that was sent out 2018 versus 2020. And there, we actually took out on the mayor's compensation, we took out Paulsbo, Lake Forest Park, East Wenatchee, Mukilteo, and Oak Harbor, because all of them had benefits and were treated like an employee than actually the type of mayor that we have. So when I took that out, that data out, their new average is 2,368, which is an increase of about $94. When I looked at the council's data and we did the average, their average is actually down to 619 and we're at 720. So it was an average increase of $13. So in summary, the new market data of 2020 shows that we are probably $118 below on the mayor's salary, and we are almost $100 above on the council members' numbers. So the council members comes in at 619. So we had a lot that had 0 increases, and we had some that were around $40, and then we had one that actually went down 105. So that's the kind of the market data where it looks like we're over on the council, but we're under on the mayor. And we were over on the council when we did this last year by 5. And now it seems like we're actually over a little bit more. So that just kind of gives us what happened in the market. And I think, RJ, these numbers came out more towards the beginning of the year. Is that correct?
The data, the salary, the survey came out at the beginning of the year to populate. The report just came out a few weeks ago. But yeah, the salary information that they gradually happened in the early part of this year.
Yeah. And then COVID hit. So I actually think that people probably didn't increase anymore, is what I'm thinking.
That's what I'd agree with that.
To be an anomaly that we had increases when everybody else probably had decreases. So based on what we had done last year, based on this kind of updated market data, we do know that the city has money, but we also know that the city is being kind of conservative in what they do going forward. I kind of wanted to talk about, I did talk to RJ and said, could we wait until March of next year and then see what, give us another 6 months, see if we know, and then give a retro back to January. And he sent out an email. He confirmed that we can't do that. We have to decide before January to do it. It's just that it's such uncertain times. I thought, well, maybe we could do it and then retro it, and that won't work. So what's your discussion on what you think we should do this year?
Well, if we decide to do an increase, could we cancel in the middle of the year?
Good question.
I honestly, if we're not doing merit raises for other city employees, and they're just getting their step raises, which is already locked into contracts and stuff, I'm comfortable with leaving salaries at status quo. We gave a good raise last year. Thankfully, we did that before all this COVID hit, because they probably wouldn't get a raise this year. But I feel, especially, Joan, as you point out, the city council members are above the average for cities our size. The mayor is close enough that I'm comfortable with him being a little bit below. We can always catch up in future years. I think for me, I'd rather be a little conservative. I'd love to give everybody a merit raise, but I think we don't know what COVID's going to look like. We don't know what the state of Washington's going to look like. Depending on the governor's race, things could change a lot come January. So I'm okay with just leaving things as they are. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Jim?
Yeah, I was just asking if we did something, could it be rescinded if there was a real problem? But that was more of a theoretical than a suggestion. The other thing I was thinking about is that I don't feel it's a, I don't think it would be a good idea to give the mayor increase without giving any of the council members an increase. That just seems kind of inappropriate to me. And like Holly was saying, everything's fairly close. Considering the situation with the step increases that are being given, yeah, I'm comfortable leaving things status quo.
Yeah. My opinion is the same. It's uncertain times, and we can catch up later. We can, reevaluate this in the spring. We can't make it retro, but doesn't mean, so I think that looking at the numbers and the uncertain times of financials, the city can afford it, but is it the right thing to do with what they're doing with the employees? I don't think so. So I agree with both of you that we had our meeting that we're required to have for the year. We've looked at the financials, we've looked at the market data, and that our decision is we status quo. We keep the same amount for January 1st.
So I'll float a resolution to maintain salaries as they are.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we have reviewed the market data and the financials. We have moved that we're going to keep salary status quo. We have fulfilled our meeting for the year. Doesn't mean that if something doesn't happen between now and the end of the year, and if one of you guys want us to call a meeting, let RG or myself know and we'll call one. If all of a sudden we get they decide to do something with the employees, or we get $5 million from the government or whatever, the elections are different. We can always reevaluate this between now and the end of the year.
That sounds good.
Okay. So next steps, RJ, what would we need to do if this is our decision?
So you really got kind of decisions is to stay status quo. So you don't, you're not proposing any salary increases. So you've met the requirement to meet. You reviewed. We have this discussion recording, so anybody can go back and listen to it. The next steps really is to decide how soon, maybe next year, you want to meet. We just kind of start emailing on our schedules in January, February to see if there's a time we want to reevaluate, because we'll have more data by that point. And then at the end, just to see if there's any public comment. I would just to share, when it comes to try to repeal any information, once you set a salary, and then you want to rescind it afterwards, once it's approved, you can't rescind it. You would have to, it actually would apply, it wouldn't apply to, let's see, if you try to decrease someone, which that would be a decrease. It says here, decreases established by a salary commission shall become effective as to the incumbent city elected official at the commencement of their next subsequent term, which is a lot of words, but it almost to me, when I read it, it talks about if I'm decreasing an incumbent who's in place already and they're only in year one of their 4-year term, that decrease wouldn't even take effect until their next term even starts.
Okay.
So they could be, yeah. So it's not really possible or effective.
And I don't think it would be a wise thing anyway.
Right.
So just more information. So
Okay.
You're asking about next steps is really when you guys want to meet again.
So how about if we send out an email in January, see
Okay.
what happens with the election, see what happens with COVID and vaccines. And we'll send out an email in January to see if you want to meet or if we want to postpone it a quarter. Kind of like this time it was,
Okay.
Can we meet? Can we meet? No, we don't have the financials, and kind of do it that way. Does that work for everybody?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Okay. Is there any kind of, RJ, would you do a report out to the council to let them know our decision?
Correct. I'll inform them. We have a council meeting tonight, so I'll mention that tonight.
Okay, great. The next is public comment. Tricia or RJ, is there anyone else on the call?
I don't see anybody.
There is not anybody else on the call, and there is an email address for people to write into, and I have not received anything up till now, but I'll keep an eye on that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So no public comment, I guess, to adjourn the meeting at 11:32.
Okay.
Thank
I
you so
second.
much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your input.
I move or so. Aye.
Okay.
See you later.
Good to see everybody. Stay
I'm glad
safe.
everybody's doing well. Stay safe.
Congratulations, Holly.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, we figured we needed one good thing to happen in 2020, right?
It's not been a good year. It's been kind of we'll get through it.
It's been a year, but hey.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, guys.
Maybe next time we'll see you in person.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
That would be
everyone.
nice.
Bye-bye.